In the headlines, several abducted as bandits invade Katsina communities despite peace deal. 469 Kano children die from malnutrition in 6 months. Waste scrap vendors protest alleged extortion in Ogun. Away from Nigeria, Ugandan authorities deny plans for internet shutdown ahead of elections. Hello, good evening and welcome to News Update on Trust TV. I am Dorcas Yakubuzala. Several persons have reportedly been abducted following coordinated night attacks by armed bandits on communities in Katsina State. Eyewitnesses said the attacks occurred on Monday night when heavily armed assailants stormed the affected areas, operating for several hours and unleashing violence on residents. Security sources disclosed that the attackers first struck Ungwer Alhaji Barrow before moving on to Gidan Nmeigizo and Gidan Hazo communities, all within Naalma ward of Malumfashi local government area. As of the time of filing this report, security agencies are yet to issue an official statement and the exact number of abducted persons remains unclear. Speaking to newsmen via telephone, the Katsina State Police Public Relations Officer Abubakar Sadiq said he was not aware of the latest attacks but promised to make inquiries and provide updates. Malumfashi is one of several frontline local government areas in Katsina State grappling with rising banditry despite recent peace agreements reportedly entered into between local authorities and armed groups operating in the area. Residents have continued to express concern over the recurring attacks, calling for increased security presence and sustained operations to protect lives and property. A suspected missile has been discovered in the Zugurma area of Mashegu local government area of Niger State. A source told Daily Trust that local residents uncovered the device and promptly alerted security agencies for intervention. A source said the object is suspected to be a Tomahawk missile warhead, believed to be among missiles previously fired by the United States, though this has not been officially confirmed. Confirming the development, the spokesperson for the Niger State Police Command, SP Wasiwa Biodun, told our correspondent that the device has been secured and is currently under investigation by relevant security agencies. He assured that necessary steps are being taken to determine the origin and nature of the object. Troops of the 6th Brigade of the Nigerian Army Sector 3 of Operation Wild Stroke, OPWS, have foiled a kidnapping attempt and rescued 3 victims during a swift, intelligence-driven operation in Taraba State. The operation was carried out following credible intelligence received by troops deployed on the activities of suspected kidnappers in Sangay Village, Bachama ward of Karim Lamido local government area. Acting on the intelligence, the troops were immediately mobilized and pursued the suspect toward the Taraba Plateau border area. On sighting the advancing soldiers, the kidnappers abandoned their captives and fled into surrounding bushes. According to a statement by the Brigade Public Relations Officer, Lieutenant Umar Muhammad, the troops successfully rescued 3 victims. Commending the troops for their professionalism and swift response, the commander of 6th Brigade Nigerian Army, Brigadier Kingsley Chidebere Uwa, reaffirmed the brigade's commitment to sustaining offensive operations across the state to deny criminal elements freedom of action. Farmers in Katsina State are raising alarm over the persistent imbalance between farm input costs and food prices, warning that the situation could trigger a long-term decline in agricultural production. Trust TV's Abdullahi Yamadi reports from Funtua Zone, a major agricultural hub in the state, home to key grain markets in Bakuri, Funtua, and Ndumi.
Farmers say the last season, a bag of maize sold for 55,000 to 60,000 naira, while fertilizer cost between 80 and 100,000 naira per bag. Today, a bag of maize fetches just 20 to 23,000 naira, while input costs have remained high. Stakeholders warn that if this imbalance continues, thousands of farmers may abandon farming altogether, which could reduce food production and spark hunger in the coming years. Beyond pricing issues, limited access to interest-free credit facilities is also hampering agricultural growth in northern Nigeria, prompting calls for urgent government intervention. At the moment, many farmers are selling their produce at a loss. In fact, the income doesn't even cover labor costs, let alone fertilizers and other inputs. We are not against falling prices, but there must be a balance between input costs and food prices. The gap between what farmers spend on production and the current prices of their produce is very wide. In simple terms, we are selling at a loss. The government must intervene immediately, or the future of agriculture in Nigeria is at risk. Farmers and other stakeholders accuse the federal government of facilitating the importation of food without corresponding checks on input prices. They describe the situation as a setback for agriculture in Katsina and the wider northern region, urging governors to prioritize the sector's development. This is the moment when government intervention is most needed. State and federal authorities should stock their silos with food items to prepare for rainy days. This would support small-scale farmers and help stabilize input prices, encouraging farming activities next season. Otherwise, only God knows what could happen next year. The reason our problem persists is clear. Last season and this season, companies that usually purchase our produce did not show up. We were told they imported produce from outside, even though we produce more than enough locally. Coupled with rising input costs, this has triggered the current decline. Experts warn that ongoing insecurity coupled with neglect of agriculture is dragging the region to its knees, putting food security at risk. They further call on federal and state governments to purchase surplus produce, reduce input costs, and intervene promptly to save the sector from total collapse. With food prices falling and input costs rising, farmers in Katsina fear that without swift action, the future of agriculture in the region and the nation's food security could be in jeopardy. Abdullahi Izumayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Now, no fewer than 469 children died from malnutrition between January and July 2025 in Kano State, while 51.9% of children in the state are stunted. Professor Rukaya Aliyu Yusuf of the Department of Information and Media Studies, Bayero University, Kano, disclosed this while presenting a paper titled Understanding the Basics of Behavioral Change Towards Improving Malnutrition in Kano State at a media sensitization training. She said malnutrition and poor dietary practices remain the biggest challenges in Kano, despite Nigeria's high ranking on the Global Nutrition Index. Quoting 2025 UNICEF reports, the Dawn noted that about 40% of children under 5 years old in Nigeria are stunted, compared to 51.9% in Kano State. Expressing concerns over the situation, she said the burden of malnutrition is driven by poverty, poor insecurity, poor dietary habits, and inadequate health awareness. Also speaking at the event, a crop scientist, Amina Ado Yahaya, said Kano State has the highest prevalence of underweight children under 5, estimated at 42.6%. She stressed the need for localized solutions such as homestead vegetable gardening to improve nutrition at the household level. A high court has reversed the decision of the National Working Committee of the New Nigeria People's Party, dissolving the party's executive committees at the state, local government and ward levels in Kano State. A development was disclosed on Tuesday in a brief post on the Facebook page of the Kano State Governor's spokesperson, Sanusi Bature Dawakin Tofa. According to the post, the court ruled that the dissolution of the Kano State NNPP structures accounted to a contempt of court. It subsequently, it consequently ordered all parties involved to maintain the status quo pending further proceedings. The ruling effectively reaffirmed the Abia-led executive committee as the recognized NNPP leadership structure in Kano State. The court decision comes barely a week after the NNPP NWC announced the dissolution of the party's executive committees across the state. The action followed an emergency meeting of the party's national leadership held in Abuja. As of the time of filing this report, the detailed court ruling had yet to be made public. This is News Update on Trust TV coming up after the break. Waste scrap vendors protest alleged extortion in Ogun. This and many more when we return. To stay with us. Welcome back from the break. In case you're just joining, this is News Updates on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories again. We told you that several abducted as bandits invade Katsina communities despite peace deal. And 469 Kano children die from malnutrition in 6 months. Moving on to more stories, waste and scrap vendors operating across Ogun State on Monday protested alleged extortion and the imposition of arbitrary levies by the Ogun State Waste Management Authority, Ogwama. The vendors also demanded the immediate removal of Ogwama's general manager, Mr. Hunye Abayomi, accusing him of imposing excessive financial demands and bringing in favored outsiders to take over their jobs. The protest took place at the governor's office at Bekuta, the state capital. According to the protesters, there has been persistent extortion, arbitrary levies, and attempts to sideline long-standing operators in the state's scrap and recycling sector. Speaking on behalf of the association, its president, Opeoluwa Balogun, said the vendors had operated under an established regulatory framework that required suppliers to pay an annual licensing fee of 50,000 naira to the state government. He alleged that the fee was increased to 200,000 naira after Abayomi assumed office. Balogun further claimed that despite paying several levies, the Ogwama management insisted that scrap vending was now reserved for politicians and no longer for existing operators. The Lamido of Akko, His Royal Highness Alhaji Umar Atiku Abubakar, has conferred the traditional title of Mainasara Akko on renowned philanthropist and businessman Abdullahi Mai Agogo in recognition of his contributions to education, healthcare, and community development across Akko Emirate and Gombe State. A new title holder has already donated buses to Gombe and Lincoln University aimed at easing transportation challenges and enhancing service delivery in the institutions. Trust TV's Hassan Lawan Koli has more.
The colorful ceremony held at the Lamido's Palace in Kumo attracted traditional rulers, religious leaders, government officials and well-wishers from across the state. During the conferment, the Lamid of Akko described Abdullahi Mai Agogo as a committed son of the soil whose philanthropic gestures have positively impacted lives, especially in education and healthcare. While receiving the title, Abdullahi Mai Agogo expressed gratitude to the Lamido, the Emirate Council, and the people of Akko for the honor.
I was so happy to be here. It is Gombe Akko Emirate, and as our father here, His Royal Highness, shows love and shows unity for all. And I'm also now part of the member of the family and part of the Emirate Council. His Royal Highness has also said it too. I'm a kind of person that I have love for all, transparency, and also unity for one nation, Nigeria. And inshallah, I will try my best to make sure that I do not disappoint His Royal Highness, our father.
As part of the occasion, he donated an ambulance to Lincoln University, Kumo, aimed at improving service delivery, and awarded 60 scholarships to Akko indigents. He also pledged continued support to young people, traditional institutions, and developmental initiatives within Akko Emirate and Gombe State, stressing that the title will inspire him to do more for humanity. Accompanying well-wishers describe Abdullahi Mai Agogo as a renowned philanthropist whose generosity funds education, healthcare, and youth empowerment. They express confidence that his elevation will bring greater development to Akko Emirate and inspire hope among the younger generation.
What I expect from him, he has started already. Now that he has donated a bus for the university situated in the area, so it's a very milestone achievement, and it has started showing his character and ability to assist. This assistance he donated the vehicle to is for the development of education in the area, and he promised to assist more and more.
We are here today to ensure that we support our younger brothers, our younger ones, to ensure that they have gone the school. We will leverage on the available resources so that we will make sure that we support them the way we are supposed to do, and you could witness this one today. You can see what we have done so far. So we thank God. We wish God will give us all the support to ensure that we support our citizens.
The compartment of Mai Nasara Akko on Abdullahi Mai Agogo is widely regarded as a recognition of philanthropy and service, with residents hopeful that it will accelerate development and strengthen unity within Akko Emirate and beyond. Hassan Lawan Koli, Trust TV News, Gombe.
Now, a bus rapid transit vehicle was gutted by fire on Tuesday on the 3rd mainland bridge in Lagos State. The high-capacity bus was reportedly en route to Iyana Oworu when the fire broke out near the Adekunle axis of the bridge. As of the time of filing this report, it remained unclear whether there were any casualties. The incident caused significant traffic disruption on the bridge, prompting the deployment of firefighters from the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service to contain the blaze. Confirming the development in a statement shared on X, the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASTMA, said efforts were ongoing to bring the situation under control. The agency added that its officers were on ground to manage traffic flow and minimize congestion in the area. And now in business, the Nigerian equities market sustained its positive momentum at the start of the week, with investors gaining 1.87 trillion naira as total market capitalization crossed the 100 trillion naira mark for the first time. Market capitalization rose by 1.869 trillion naira to close at 101.807 trillion naira, boosted by renewed buying interest and the additional listing of 2.575 billion shares of First Holdco. The all-share index ASI advanced by 2,725.86 points, representing a 1.74% increase to close at 159,218.22 points. The rally was driven by gains in medium and large capitalized stocks. Reacting to the milestone, the Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Exchange Group, Temi Popola, said the developments reflected growing investor confidence in Nigeria's capital market. Similarly, the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Exchange Limited, Jude Chiemeka, attributed the market rally to improving investor participation and selective demand across key sectors of the economy. Now, away from Nigeria, Ugandan authorities have denied plans to shut down internet access during next week's general elections, dismissing reports of a possible blackout as unfounded. Concerns were raised by the main opposition candidate, Robert Kyagulanyi, popularly known as Bobi Wine, who last week reiterated claims that the government intended to block internet access to disrupt mobilization and transmission of election results. Fears intensified on Friday after satellite internet provider Starlink restricted its services in Uganda following a directive from the National Communications Regulator. Uganda goes to the polls on January 15th with President Yoweri Museveni seeking to extend his rule, which is approaching 4 decades. His main challenger is Bobi Wine, a former pop star turned politician. The election comes against the backdrop of the 2021 polls, which were marred by protests, dozens of deaths, and a 4-day nationwide internet shutdown. However, the Uganda Communications Commission (UCC) said there were no plans to cut internet access. Its executive director, Inyombi Tembo, described reports of an impending shutdown as mere rumors, stressing that the Commission's mandate is to ensure uninterrupted connectivity. And that's a wrap on news update. Do not forget to follow us across all social media platforms for more programs, news, and documentaries. I am Dorcas Yakubuzala. Thank you for watching.